Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is your brother Ben Sedek, Ben Torah, coming to you once again with a very informative and very entertaining video. The information that I'm giving you, it's not legal advice. If you ever need legal or lawful advice, seek you a competent attorney or lawyer if you could find one. So with that said, I was doing some research and I say I need to share this with my fellow American people who just want to know the truth. There's a lot of people are literally rotting in prison now and in jail whose rights were totally violated. The poor souls didn't even know that their rights were violated a lot of times. Some do, but they cannot get any type of justice, and some don't. But what I'm going to share with you today is this. The Fifth Amendment, okay? The Fifth Amendment to the United States Republic Constitution. And it's very important why I said republic. Why? Because many people calling it a democracy, but it's actually by law a republic. And like I explained in past videos, the difference between a democracy means mob rule in layman's term, with the majority rule. In a republic, one man, one vote, and people's rights are unalienable and they are protected by a constitution, and it's also a government by consent. Okay, it's a republic. So in the United States Republic Constitution, under the Fifth Amendment, we find the common law or the grand jury. What the grand jury is a system that goes all the way back to England and even Rome and beyond, where if somebody is being accused of certain crime, their first defense will be a group of people come together and they look at all the information that the accused is charged with. And if they see enough evidence that a crime allegedly had been committed, then they give an indictment or a presentation for it to be prosecuted. If they didn't find any kind of law being broken, stuff like that, then they could go ahead and just end the case right there. So it was the first line of defense for we the people. So the framers, when they broke off from England and Britain and they came here to America and they were setting up a constitutional republic, what they did, they put in the Fifth Amendment that states that no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on the presentment or indictment of a grand jury. That's very, very important. What is a capital crime? A capital crime is like treason, murder, okay? Those kind of charges, the accused must be indicted by a grand jury. The other set of crime that also is included is an infamous crime. What is an infamous crime? An infamous crime is one in which the accused is facing up to a year or more than a year in prison or jail. So anyone facing a capital offense or an infamous crime where they're facing jail time of a year, there is guarantee that they have to be indicted by a grand jury. And this is how that's supposed to work. The person is being accused and the state prosecutor or the state attorney, they brought the charges and gather the grand jury and present them. When they present them to the grand jury going to look and make sure that the person's constitutional rights are protected, make sure that they didn't do anything which is not protected by the Constitution. And if they find out that the person's allegedly, and they see enough evidence that a crime has been committed, then they could give a go-ahead for the case to go forward. That is an indictment. Now, the reason why I say it like this about the constitutionality of it is this. There are a lot of statutes and codes that are going around, which are not laws, but they are being enforced as laws, and the average Americans don't know the difference. So what happened, as the grand jury's job is this. Let's say the state bring forth a charge against an individual. The grand jury are supposed to be educated to look if what the state is saying, if it's constitutionally protected. For example, let me give you an example. Let's say somebody was going down the road with their firearm and it's on their person, whatever, and they're not causing any threat or any harm to anyone, and the cop, for some reason, pulled them over, arrested them for a concealed weapon. Now, when it goes to the grand jury, many grand juries are uneducated. They will go by what the system say and say, okay, all right, yeah, he have a weapon and he doesn't have a license, so yes, he had committed a crime. However, under the Constitution, there is no crime there. Okay, why? Because the Second Amendment states that a well-regulated militia is necessary for a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It didn't tell you that you need a license, and as a matter of fact, no rights can be licensed. No one have any authority to license a right. A right is unalienable. It's a duty, is non-transferable from the Almighty, and it cannot be licensed. Okay? But like I said, the average person who is uneducated, they wouldn't know that. So they'll think that, oh, this person going down the street, they have a gun in their waist, covered up or whatever. The cop or the state says it's a crime because they don't have a license, so therefore they'll commit a crime. No, that's not a crime. However, what happens many times, the state will point to some type of state statute and say, well, according to the statute, you have to have a license. That statute is unconstitutional based upon the Constitution. Why? Because the Article 6 of the Constitution is where we find what is known as the Supremacy Clause. Supremacy means exactly what it means. It means the highest form. And it states, I'm just paraphrasing, this Constitution, the laws pursuant shall be the supreme law of the land. Supreme means the highest law of the land. Then it went further by say, those of the legislative means lawmaker, those of the judiciary, the courts, and those of the executive branch, the police power, they are bound by oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. Anything contrary is notwithstanding. So any statute, code, anything that violates or contradicts with the Constitution is null and void. So if the state come up and say, well, our statute says somebody have to have a license, according to the Supremacy Clause, that statute is unconstitutional and it's null and void. But the problem is the average person doesn't know that. Okay? So because they don't know that, oftentimes they go by what they're told by people who are supposed to know better, who don't know any better, telling them that these are laws. These are not laws. So that's the example where I say, if a charge is brought against somebody, the grand jury was supposed to be educated in the Constitution, where they can look at it and say, well, this person, what they're doing was protected by the Constitution, so there's no crime right here. Bam, case is over. Okay, so that's the purpose of the grand jury. Now, another problem we see is some states will say, well, certain crimes we do not use the grand jury. Guess what? That is unconstitutional. Why? Because the Supremacy Clause of the Republic Federal Constitution, for lack of a better word, it states clearly that the Constitution is the supreme law. So every state have to be bound by the supremacy of the Constitution. So if a state come and say, well, we don't do grand jury for certain infamous or capital crime, that is null and void because it violates the Constitution. Okay? Why? Because every state in the Union, they are bound by the Constitution, the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution. And also the 14th Amendment, which is controversy. Some people like it, some people don't know. But whatever your belief on it is there. And there are parts of it that states that no state can make any law that will deny the privilege of the people of America. So in other words, no state can make any law that violate the Constitution. Very plain and simple. Once again, it comes back to the ignorance of the people. They don't want the people to know this so they can be a beacon for justice and can follow the law of the land. The bar attorney or the bar association is one of the most dangerous and deadliest thing that has happened to America. Let me give you an example why. When we did have a real Congress in 1950, the 81st Congress, they had investigated the Lawyers Guild. What the Lawyers Guild is, that's the offshoot where the American Bar Association came from. And every state have a state bar association which is affiliated to the National American Bar Association, which goes all the way back to London, England. Okay? So the Bar Association, when the 81st Congress in 1950 investigated them, they came up with the conclusion that the Lawyers Guild / the American Bar is a communist organization that does not have the best interest of the American people. And they were correct. How do we know that? Because a lot of the bar attorneys, they are the ones who wrote a lot of statutes, codes and regulation that violates the American people's rights, and have a lot of people now literally in prison over some petty statutes which are in themselves unconstitutional. Okay? And another thing to the Bar Association, it's like a club. You know, you pay a fee, you get a membership, you get a certificate, and then they go around with this lie, telling people that they're licensed. There's no such thing. No one can license law. Law is a common law right. Why? Because basic common law is this: don't commit murder, don't maliciously harm or injure anybody, don't maliciously destroy or damage anybody's property, don't commit fraud or theft and treason. These are all common law natural rights, and these cannot be licensed. Okay, but what they do, they have a certificate, and then they use the certificate as a monopoly so that they keep the business with themselves, and that the American people is at the mercy of these people who does not have their best interest. Okay, and so back to the Fifth Amendment, the grand jury. It's very, very important. Very important. Why? Like I said, it was put in place to benefit the people. Now, if the grand jury look and they see that the person, there's a prima facie. Prima facie means, you know, up on the face, and it's faced, it's evidence on the face that some type of crime was committed. Then they could go ahead and say, you know what, yes, go forward with this. That's an indictment. But if they look at it and they say, wait a minute, what this person did is protected by the Constitution, guess what? They have the power right there to say this is unconstitutional and the case is over. That's it. That's the power of the grand jury. That's why the framers put it into the Fifth Amendment. They didn't want a malicious judge or prosecutor just take things on their shoulder and, you know, decide somebody's life based upon their own, sometimes twisted beliefs. So they set up a system where the people can come together and make a discernment if their fellow American have committed a crime or not. Okay, so like I said, it's very, very important. I've seen it. I've spoken to an attorney myself. I have friends going through certain things themselves, and you know, and I asked them, I said, did you ask your attorney about the grand jury? And they said when they asked them, the attorney said, like, well, we don't do that here in this state, and some states don't do that. And I said, that is wrong, because guess what happened? When we look at it, the Constitution states that anything that is contrary to the Constitution is null and void, and no state can make any law that violates the Constitution. So it doesn't matter what state, whether it's Florida, Texas, any state, they must abide by the Constitution of the United States for America, the Republic. Why? Because they are bound by oath to uphold and defend it. My thing always says this, and there's enemies, subversive enemies that is in this country that has infiltrated the United States Republic government, and these enemies, they are here to try to destroy the American freedom and way of life. And the way they do it is through these subversive groups that are trying to destroy the laws by replacing them with statutes and codes. It's very, very dangerous. Like I said, there are millions of people right now in jail and prison over bogus statutes and codes, which are actually unconstitutional. But nobody is there to educate them, and nobody is there to stand up for the right of the people. Okay, I'm saying this because, like I said, I've seen the injustice all over. A lot of innocent people have been charged with stuff that they're not crimes. They're protected by the Constitution, but the bar attorneys turn them into crimes, and their lives are destroyed, their families are destroyed because of some bogus statutes and stuff like that, which have nothing to do with law. Okay, so that's why we, the people, it's very, very important for us to do a little reading. It's our basic unalienable right. Do a little reading. The Constitution is there. It's not like first time where one have to get up and go to the library, which even if that was the case, it's still worthwhile. But nowadays we can pull it up on our phone, you know, spend a couple minutes, read, you know, understand, because we have this attitude sometimes where we'll be like, oh, that's not my problem, that's his problem over there, until it hits home. Okay? There was a saying, man, let me tell you, am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am my brother's keeper. Okay, so this is just a little short video, and like I said, what I'm saying is for you, the people, to educate yourselves and become a beacon. You are the government. We are the government. We are the government. That's what a republic is. It's a government of, for, and by the people. These people that are in office are public, are government servants. They are supposed to serve us. The sad thing is now they are serving the corporations, and they're making rules and statutes and codes to benefit the corporations. We, the people, have to be the masters of our own destinies by standing up and do what is right. The Constitution is a beautiful set of documents. Some people don't like it, some people like it, but I'm telling you, it protects most biblical common law principle, and that's why I like it. So until then, this is your brother sharing with you. Until then, we talk again. Have a blessed one. Shalom.